Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open on a battlefield with a band of nomadic entertainers called the Ragnicks. They're a peaceful traveling circus who throw real weapons at their showgirls and are led by Canary, who has the power to be very loud and vibrate. The nanny, who was disrespectfully credited as fatty, has adopted 2 boys and a girl who's way too big to be bounced on her knee like that. They harass the dwarf Pin, who kinda deserves it, before being tattooed on their necks so that we can identify them later, like branding a cow. Suddenly their caravan is set upon by the evil King Kadar, who has some of the ugliest henchmen this side of the Forbidden Lands. It wouldn't be so bad if they could actually fight, but most of these mutants get taken out by the likes of knife throwers, jugglers and fire breathers. The showgirl gets bludgeoned to death and her boyfriend gets run through when he sacrifices himself, leaping off the wagon to get revenge. An alluring woman called Allura pulls out a giant shaft and gives it to the gray-haired Greyshaft for some exquisite writing. He fires it from the wagon, creating a horse tripwire, while Allura's moose-headed husband Ibar weaponizes his big crystal balls. The Ragnicks have a magical ruby that Kadar wants, so Greyshaft takes it from Canary and almost breaks his neck while leaving to hide it. The rest get cornered in a rocky outcrop where Kadar has his men beat 2 shades of sorceress out of this woman until she reveals its location. He demonstrates how much of a psycho he is when waving his sword around in the air like he just don't care and stabbing some random girl. I guess that's to scare Canary into revealing the ruby's location. However, one of the twin boys bites off Kadar's trigger fingers. He plans to execute them both since he can't tell them apart, so Canary agrees to obey him if he spares their lives. Despite already being his prisoner, Kadar accepts the deal and the slaves are taken to his castle, where pulling a finger gun is now punishable by death. The women are given to the men that place them on top of a pedestal just to poke at them from below with sticks. These ladies have a better stage than the king himself, whose throne sits like 4 feet off the ground on a slave-elevated wooden raft. He has Canary kept in a cage-go figure and a harem of handsy women who appear to all bother him more than they please. Upon learning that Kadar lost his ability to finger blast her, the sorceress China says that the twins must be punished with death. She gets angry at the boys and throws powdered sugar in their faces, then handfuls of webs like Spider-Man on date night. Since Kadar took an oath none of his men can harm them, so the twins just stand there like Mary Jane taking it. They're separated and sent to work in the mines for the human unicorn Dirtmaster, where they'll grow up, just assuming the other one died. One of the brothers is tortured by someone wearing a black helmet while one a brass, so that they get programmed to hate anybody wearing those helmets. Many years later, the pair have grown up to be bodybuilding barbarians because everybody knows slavery builds these kind of muscles. All these years later, they still go through the same programming, while Canary is still kept in a cage receiving pearl necklace after pearl necklace. China disturbs the king while he's trying to give her another, so he whips out his other sword like he's going to do something about it. She's just here to say the brothers are ready to fight, so Kagi makes a show of it by inviting the whole town to watch some glorified fratricide. The slightly shorter one, Kutchek, is adorned with a brass helmet, and his brother Gore, who bit off the king's fingers with the black. Canary is made to watch in hopes that she'll reveal the ruby's location to save them, but with her mouth bound she's going to need to blink it. The brothers have an evenly matched duel until Kutchek's helmet is knocked off and Gore notices that his opponent has the same face. His simple brain can't comprehend what's going on, so Gore keeps trying to kill Kutchek until Canary cries that he's your brother, moron. They work together to escape by muscling their way out and stealing a couple of horses because nobody owns a bow in this kingdom. They escape into the forest and plan to return for Canary, but come across an imprisoned woman in a makeshift cage named Ismene. We're supposed to believe that these 2 escaped prisoners just leave the skimpy-dressed babe there and wander off to find the Ragnicks. Their caravan is now overgrown and the entertainers live here under the leadership of Ibar, but nobody seems to have aged except for the brothers. They've aged out of being recognized by the troops, so are sentenced to hang by their necks alongside Ismene, who's accused of thievery. What they don't realize is that these 2 physically can't be hung, as Kutchek just flexes and busts out of the noose. Gore also breaks free from his restraint, so Ali checks the tattoos on their necks to recognize them as the same twins who used to bully Pin. For some reason nobody noticed the tattoos while putting the noose around their necks, not even Nanny, who put the thing there herself. Ibar says they aren't strong enough to rescue Canary and don't have any weapons, despite waving some around moments earlier. The twins must go on a quest to find some, so they order Ismene to be released because she says that she knows a weapons dealer. She would probably say anything to avoid being hung, but brings the boys to a medieval strip joint called the Bucket of Blood. All manner of scum and villainy gather here to enjoy a bikini-clad woman dancing on stage in a movie with nudity. Jacko the dealer says that he will give the brothers the weapons and armor, but only if Gore can beat him in an arm wrestle. If the brothers lose, then Jacko gets to keep Ismene, so they agree because they only met this chick like 10 minutes ago anyway. Jacko is about a foot taller than the brothers and uses a snake to unnerve his opponent, but Gore just hisses right back and puts this guy through the table. Of course he doesn't honor his end of the deal and kicks off a bar fight in which the twins beat up 50% of the drunk patrons. Jacko is defeated by Gore with a single headbutt and the brothers escape with Ismene having wasted their time on this pointless side quest. Since they already have their guns, they decide to just sneak into the villain's castle and rescue Canary without the weapons. When a guard nearly spots them, the brothers kiss, which is enough to make him leave instead of wondering why those identical twins are making out. Ismene just happens to know about a secret entrance into the king's bedchambers which the boys take their time to help her access. Izzy put her back out, so she remains outside to recover while the brothers sneak in through the harem of sleeping slave girls. They find Canary, but she chooses to remain in the cage so they don't alert Kadar and sends them to retrieve the ruby. Since it's guarded by a dragon, they'll need some enchanted weapons, but first they take the harem to Pound Town while Mother watches from the corner. Izzy also had an eventful night by the looks of it and joins the brothers in questing to the Forbidden Lands because she doesn't have anything else to do. First they must retrieve the weapons from a tomb beneath a waterfall, so we aren't just punching the dragon with our fists. They rob the grave of a fallen king who was buried with his enchanted weapons and armor, but it's guarded by some lazy-looking wolfmen. Two grab Ismene despite having giant claws, but the brothers just rip the creature's arms off like they're picking dandelions. Kutchek then puts on the chest plate while Gore the sleeve, which makes it much easier to tell them apart than looking for this dangly thing. Another wolfman attacks, but Izzy and Kutchek easily bring it down before waiting for Gore to finish barking so they can leave. Meanwhile, the horny Dirtmaster is trying to whip the ruby out of Canary, but a green woman overheard her conversation with the twins. China learns about the Forbidden Lands, however the Oompa Loompa missed the part about the dragon, so she sends her boss there unprepared. She locates the ruby quite easily, but just when she picks it up, the ugliest dragon you've ever seen emerges and swallows her up off screen. Presumably the Dirtmaster is also eaten, while the soldiers that they brought to defend them from this kind of thing are killed by swamp things. When our heroes arrive, the humanoids from the shallows leap out, but the brothers simply have to backhand them and they're dead. Realizing the ruby is missing, the twins begin arguing, but are interrupted by two of Kadar's ugliest scouts who don't even bother to wait for the army. They should have, because one just falls over, so Kutchek stabs him in the back while the other Gore defeats with the stop cutting yourself method. Just then the dragon rises from the water like a circus cannon, and the entire thing is just a neck with 5 massive scales. Its hairless canine skull protrudes with very expressive eyebrows, but it's a wonder how it ate China, because the trio just wander off. Izzy comes up with the idea to lure the creature over a hole that the boys wait inside, then impale its soft belly from below. Presumably this only works because the weapons are special, and they climb up inside a second set of guts without Canary watching this time. Inside the small intestine they locate China's undigested body and retrieve the ruby, then give it to Ismene. She's told to bring it to the Ragnicks where it will be safest, but stops mid-ride to ponder if she should steal the gem for herself. For whatever reason she decides to behave while the brothers ride to Kadar's castle to save Canary at the worst possible time. They just arrived at the Forbidden Lands looking for the ruby, so must have rode straight past the twins since they're so hard to miss. Canary calls Gore and Kutchek and tells them to turn around, then uses the onion spell that gives her layers and makes Kadar cry. He stabs her right in the heart, which is what Canary intended, so that her death would turn the powerful ruby into a useless stone. When Izzy delivers it to the Ragnicks, they know that their queen must be dead when suddenly it begins glowing again because a new one can be chosen. Ibar tests the virgin girls by sticking the ruby in their belly button, because we don't want a queen with such a loose hole that it just falls out. Only 2 of these women haven't been sullied by the jugglers, and they both fail, so Ismene is forced to try despite that dogpile the other night. The ruby picks her to be the queen if that's how it works, but because she isn't a Ragnick she must be executed instead. Fortunately, Izzy is the overgrown baby from the beginning, and the tattoo on her neck proves that this is the Ragnick's new queen. They throw her up on their shoulders like the little taco commercial girl while the twins return to the Forbidden Forest. Kadar's henchmen put up no fight whatsoever, so the king runs away and waits at the canyon where Gore chewed off his fingers. He rides at them on horseback and uses a shield to blind them, but Gore destroys it with a single swing of his enchanted axe. Next he tries the turn my back strategy, and when they're close he spins around really fast, as I bet they weren't expecting that. Using hidden blades he slashes the twins across their bodies, then charges at them with his sword, but Gore pulls him down off his horse. Instead of finishing him off, the brothers back away, so Kadar just pulls out a crossbow and prepares to shoot them instead. Fortunately this fool forgot he doesn't have any trigger fingers, and I guess the crossbow is right-handed, so the brothers hurl their swords into his chest. Kadar is finally defeated, and with the Ragnicks getting their ruby back, their caravan of wagons has suddenly restored itself. They show up to collect the brothers, who'll have to decide between them who's going to marry the new queen, or maybe they'll share. And the movie ends.